Albion lately, it only made sense for me to bring a Brighton Hove Albion fan on, Mr. George Northover, who's not only a Brighton fan, also a sports journalist as well. Unless, of course, I'll leave that for him to introduce himself.
Yeah, hello, mate. Well, yeah, I am a sports journalist. Well, technically, apparently. Just graduated from uni in Huddersfield from doing that. So, yeah, and obviously support Brighton for the last, nearly 20 years, I think. Well, if they're supporting, tolerating them, I think is the right word for me. But it's, so it's good to be here.
And do you want to tell us a bit about yourself? Like, what made you become, what made you become a Brighton fan, and what inspired you, and what made you go down the route of sports journalism? Because we've had a lot of conversations about this.
Yeah, so supporting Brighton probably been dropped on the head as a kid, I would guess. But no, local side. I'm from Eastbourne in East Sussex, so obviously it's not too far from Brighton. They're a local side, and like people say, support your local team rather than a bigger side. And yeah, it just went from there really. Since like we were all on the news at the time because of the new stadium back like 20 years ago, so it was nice to support a local team despite the fact we played with teams.
The Amex, as they call it, or the Amex credit card, or if you're American, you call it Amex.
Yeah, or Falmouth Stadium, as it's supposed to be known, apparently. Sometimes.
Oh yeah. So, what made you go down the route of sports journalism?
Well, I've always been interested in sport. Obviously, I'm a massive football fan, as you know, but I'm also interested in sort of other sports, like motorsport is another big one, like motorbike racing especially. And I've always loved talking about sport, like football, obviously. You know, whenever I was in work or something or talking to people, football would be the sort of the topic of conversation. And over like the pandemic, I was sort of at work thinking, God, do I really want to do this for the next sort of 20 years? And I was 23, 24 at that time.
Yeah.
I just thought, I'm going to go back to uni and do sports journalism, get a degree, and then hopefully I can go into that. And obviously I graduated 2 weeks ago. So hopefully we now move on into that field.
Well done, bro. I have to say well done on graduating. And I always like talking. That was a very hard time, obviously, 4 years ago. Very difficult time for myself as well. And yeah, for me, that was what also made me go down this route of, you know, become a aspiring video journalist, you know, obviously talking about unique off the pitch topics. Because when everyone talks about, you know, what happens on the pitch, but what doesn't happen, obviously I've been inspired by sports lawyers like Daniel G and Kieran Maguire, Brighton fan, about when they talk about off the pitch stuff. And I always like business studies in school. That's why I felt like I tailor my niche, you know, when my niche is with my interests, and football bring them together. And yeah, I'll tell you, one time that I was in school, I remember, I love bringing this story up, when some science lesson, some Portuguese guy they got from one of the local universities came in, spoke about his research and all that. And at the end, it said, any questions? And said he was from Portugal. I said, who's your team in Portugal? You're a Porto fan? And then he's like, no, I'm Benfica. And at the end, the teacher pulled me behind and said, no, stay behind. All right, that was a very inappropriate question you asked. I was like, oh, be quiet. This is exactly why I never liked school. I just wanted to have a laugh at the guy. So I asked him, and he said, any questions? I was like, okay. He came from Portugal, obviously. You don't know who his team is over there.
Yeah, exactly. Only trying to make friends, isn't you?
Exactly. Yeah, man. I got in trouble for that. I got a big talking to for that. But I never liked science anyway, so it was what it was. I just laughed it off. But yeah, congratulations to you. Yeah, and also, yeah, that's my way. I mean, I'm still doing my day job as a front of house officer, but I'm also hoping to I'd like to eventually become a sports presenter or some more down your way of journalism, maybe video. Writing is not my strength. That's why, I mean, I could never write articles. I always like talking them out, simplifying them. That's always been my strength, I believe, personally, yeah.
Well, yeah, you're lucky now because we've got all the video stuff we can do now, like we're doing now. So
yeah, exactly.
We're very lucky, so we don't have to keep writing stuff down.
That's good. So, you know me, I've done a lot of research on Brighton Hove Albion. I'm obsessed with the way like Tony Bloom runs the club, you know, with his data modelling and Paul Barber. What are your thoughts on the current manager appointment in Fabian Hurzeler and the previous managers, and especially with the head coach setup that Bloom likes to go for?
I think the appointment it's a bold one. Obviously because of his age, 31, he should effectively still be playing. Traditionally, 31, you're still kind of at the end of your career. So it's a bold move by Tony Bloom, but obviously we always trust in what he does. Hopefully it works. Only like recently, the only manager we didn't really trust him was Sami Hyypiä. That season was torrid for us. Luckily, but from that we got Chris Hughton, and look where we are now. So, but it was disappointing to see De Zerbi go. But I can kind of see why he went. He obviously wanted more transfers control, which obviously Bloom and Barber don't really like. They don't do that. That's not their thing. And obviously we've seen the player that De Zerbi's recently signed at Marseille, but we won't go into that. So yeah, that's why I think De Zerbi went, which was a shame really, because we had a whole season with him, well, season and a half, near enough two really. Obviously the first one getting us into Europe, and then last season in Europe, and we all thought, okay, end of the season now, we can try and push this season coming up for Europe again. And obviously he announces he's leaving like the day before the last game of the season. You think, oh, it's kind of back to step one now, and we're going to have to look for another manager. And obviously, speaking to you, we were the name Mr. Potter came up quite.
Love that guy, Graham Potter.
Which, given his due, he was a good manager for us. Obviously, the way he left is still, fresh in the mind. Well, it was, of course, going to be fresh in the mind of Brighton fans because it's only about 2 years ago. But, the way he left with us, it's kind of a salty taste in their mouth. And, all right, he did play good football, but over the 2021 season, I think we won once in about 5 months, and we didn't really want to go back to that. And the style of football that De Zerbi played was vastly different to what Potter was playing. So this could be a real breath of fresh air for us with him, with Hurzeler. What he's done with St. Pauli last season was fantastic, especially with the teams in that league. They had, Hamburg as well in there. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting. I hope, it is the right decision by Bloom and Barber, but we have to see what happens.
So going back to the managers, the first one I remember, what was your thoughts on the very first one, Gus Poyet?
Oh,
Remember?
That bloke has a special place in my heart. The football, it was obviously the last few seasons with Dean. So, and the last season with Dean, we won League One.
Oh, okay.
I say won, we basically walked it.
If you can keep up with us.
Southampton, yeah. Old Nigel Adkins, yeah.
I love that, man.
You still watch the football we played from that season. And for a League One side, it was phenomenal. We were playing out from the back, which no team in that league or even us had really done before. And some of the players going, Elliot Bennett and Glenn Murray, who then
legend.
to Palace after that season, which was for us because they didn't want to pay him a bit more.
Yeah.
And then look, they fired them to promotion. So that's another folklore of Brighton Hove Albion. But yeah, Gus Poyet, charismatic manager. De Zerbi reminded me of him a lot, especially watching him on the touchline with Dean. If we ever got a penalty, he would go and hide behind the dugout because we were so rubbish at them. 9 times out of 10, we generally miss them. So yeah. I loved Gus Poyet. And the football we played under him was phenomenal. Obviously, got us to that playoff semi-final again, which I won't mention because it's against who, and a certain twice. I think he did kind of leave on a sour note, and unfortunately, the club, for some bizarre reason, refuses to acknowledge his existence now. So any kind of mention of him is kind of like, oh, who's he? There's nothing ever like if an anniversary comes up of us winning the title or anything. It's not Gus Poyet's side. It's like when we won. It's like, come on, at least mention him. He's part of what we've built.
Let me ask, was he? I remember he was on TV that time when he got fired. Did they fire him in the end, or did he leave on his own accord? Because
he didn't know he had
disputes or something.
I don't know the full story, but it was apparently he didn't know he'd been sacked, and obviously they told him on the Confederations Cup, I think.
Yeah, he was on TV and he said that.
And he was live on the BBC, and they were like, "Oh, so you've been sacked from Brighton?" He was like, "Have I?"
And the statement came out. I remember that, and he said he wanted to appeal it, and obviously thought it was the right thing to do, but then. After that, I remember, correct me if I'm wrong, was it Oscar Garcia that was the manager?
Yeah, the man who drank sangria as the song went. Yeah, he was.
And he was only Watford manager for like 1 month after Brighton, and then,
Yeah,
that's what I remember. He had to leave for illness or something, but
got us into the playoffs again, obviously. So it was that last minute smash and grab at Nottingham Forest, a Joe goal that got us into the playoffs. Again, the playoffs.
Oh, yeah, Leandro Ajoa. I remember that house.
it was a close one in the first leg against Derby. They swept us aside in the second leg. But I think at that point, we still weren't ready to make the big step into the Premier League.
Of course.
And then obviously it was the Hoofier season where we nearly ended up, which was, it was an interesting season.
I think he came from Leverkusen and went straight to Brighton, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah.
He was managing Champions League the season before that, and then he went to Brighton. And then, I remember that season I was checking him up on. I was like, right, Brighton's towards the bottom. Normally they're playoff contenders. Yeah,
we were, I think we'd won once or twice. I think there's only about 3 or 4 times we'd won under, and I think we only won twice at home, I think. And one of them was against Wigan, where we scored in the first minute, and it was a dire game. I think then, and all I remember from that is the ground was that empty. They announced the attendance of about 28,000, and everyone started laughing because it was about 12,000 less than what they'd actually announced.
Oh, at was it? Oh, in the Amex. Oh, okay, right.
And then obviously Chris Hughton in the end of that season.
Yeah, he was good. Yeah, he started midway. I think I remember I was on holiday and I was just scrolling through Sky Sports. I saw Hughton named new Brighton manager, and I was happy for him, Chris Hughton, because I thought he did a decent job at Norwich before he went to Brighton. And yeah, he got you guys promoted. Obviously, it was second time asking, I think it was.
Yeah, the
16-17.
The infamous Middlesbrough game where we could have. I think we had a goal more, we'd have gone up. But
yeah.
I still don't think the squad we had, we weren't ready to go up. I think, and then obviously we signed Knockout and all those players we had and mostly Glenn Murray came back.
Oh yeah, and who's that other Colombian brother? Isquerido.
Yeah, that was when we got promoted to the Premier League. He wasn't in promotion winning side, but that promotion season was just fantastic, especially going toe to toe with a side like Newcastle.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
Again, Brighton Hove Albion folklore. We had 3 games to spare when we got promoted. Just needed a win, and we didn't win any of them.
To get the title, secure the title. It's the main thing. We got promoted at the end of the day.
Going to Villa Park on the last day, we go 1-0 up. Glenn Murray scores the penalty, and we're all going, "Hey, we're going to win the league again." Finally, we see us win something. And then obviously David Stockdale. I think Jack Grealish scored the late equaliser. I think the 87th minute, and everyone's like, "Oh, this is a bit of a downer," but we got the job done anyway. It was, and when we got to the Premier League, we thought, okay, we're going to make the most of this. And look at us now. We're here, 7 years nearly later? And we didn't think we'd be here.
That's why I like that's why I've always admired the way Tony Bloom does things, his data modelling approach. And we spoke about briefly after Mr. Hughton came, Graham Potter, was iconic for standing on a touchline, arms folded.
Yeah, got to think of the positives.
Yeah. Came with fresh face and left with all facial hair. I think he was a bad man with the Chelsea and all that.
Yeah, he was for the time. He was a good appointment for us. He was.
What was his football style of play? Like, 'cause you say it was different from De Zerbi. How did he play football?
It wasn't as excitingly attacking as De Zerbi. Like De Zerbi was sort of boom, 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 get it done. And Potter's was kind of, it was build up, and then he at some random points his tactics were bizarre because he played Dan Burn who's meant to be a centre half, left back for some bizarre reason, despite the fact he's 6'7", but somehow it worked. Yeah. And he played players in positions you wouldn't really. It was kind of reminiscent of Mark McGee when he decided to play Adam Virgo up top, but this is back in 2005. But that seemed to work, so maybe he took some kind of inspiration from that.
Oh, okay, yeah. And after obviously Potter, there was RDZ, the famous RDZ.
Yeah,
I believe was your favourite to this day.
He wasn't. You look from with the clubs he was at Shakhtar and Sassuolo, you think, he's good. He's got a good reputation. Of course, the Premier League, of course, is a different kettle of fish to those leagues.
I was like, who's this guy? I've never heard of this guy before we first come here.
We first started with him. Okay, maybe. Why not give him a try? And it did work. Got us into Europe. And, that the European campaign was a dream. We thought, the group we got, Ajax and Marseille, for a start, we're thinking, oh, here we go. Yeah. And then, obviously, the first game we lost to AEK Athens.
Yeah, I remember that was the Amex, yeah.
We were thinking, some people were thinking, these, and I was thinking, no, they've got European pedigree, so we got to take these seriously, and we got found out in that first game. And then obviously it got to half time away to Marseille. We're all thinking, oh, this is it, you know. And that comeback. And I didn't go to Marseille, but I went out to Ajax and Athens. Didn't get a ticket. I'm not a season ticket holder anymore. But just to experience, obviously I do the aways with England, as you know.
Yeah.
But experience something like that with your own club, it's the stuff of dreams. We never dreamed we'd be there, you know, when we were playing in League One at Withdene, someone turned to you and go, oh, you'll be in Europe in about 10 years. You've gone, shut up. You know, it's just not fathomable with a club like us. But, you know, the stuff that Tony Bloom's done to the club and the stadium as well. You know, you look at us now, we're, you know, on the tour in Japan. I'm still looking at the tweets from today when we played earlier. And there's just Japanese fans going mad for us. I'm thinking, what's
Karo Mitoma.
Yeah,
the main guy.
Mitoma effect, but you know, it's just unfathomable to me. Still, I'm still in this mindset that we're a little old Brighton who play in League One, you know, sometimes, and I think, oh no, we're established Premier League side now, so hopefully, you know, we stay in that kind of position for many years to come. You know, you look at sides like Palace, as much I like them. No. You know, they've managed to establish themselves. They weren't a really fancied side. They never really have been in the Premier League. And, of course, we're kind of the same level as each other. And we have been throughout our history. So you look at sides like that and, you know, Wolves who have come through as well and had European campaigns. So, you know.
Definitely. And on that matter, speaks. You said you went to Marseille, I remember, when England away. When I was Euro 2016.
Yeah, Euro 2016.
How was that? You were the Russians in the stadium as well. Euro
2016 is probably one of the stupidest decisions I've ever made in my entire life. Well, I was only 19 at the time. I'm thinking, I'll trip over the front. You know, realising that it's Roy Hodgson's England that are playing and not a Gareth side. So it's even worse.
So boring.
I was 19 thinking, get a summer holiday out of this, go to France. Applied for tickets. The only games I got were obviously the first opening game against Russia. I missed out on the Wales game. I was absolutely gutted about because that was the only decent game, and I had the Slovakia game in St Etienne, which was 0-0, and all I can remember from that one is singing The Great Escape for a good half an hour at least during that second half.
That was 0-0, wasn't it, that game?
Yeah, that was, and I think Wales won, so we ended up second. That's how we ended up getting
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, the only goal I saw was an Eric Dyer free kick against Russia. But yeah, Marseille was an interesting thing because obviously it was my first kind of trip abroad with England.
Yeah.
And it's a real eye opener when you go abroad for the first time.
Yeah.
Especially if you're English, because you know the reputation we've had in the past of English supporters is not a great one. But saying that, it's still I was still kind of in the mindset that, okay, that was my first trip. It weren't great. And, you know, I've done many trips with England. In the later years, you know, I've been to Germany a few times. Obviously, bumped by myself in Munich in the Nations League, which is...
I'll never forget that night. The first thing you got was, are you English? We all sat in the home and remember by the same time.
You're right.
No, I'm Japanese. That was my first England away as well, because I only started taking England games seriously, as much as it sounds like I'm jumping on a bandwagon after the 2018 World Cup. Because before that, the football was so boring on the Hodgson. I didn't even care if England lost, you know. I was even happy, you know, because it was just so boring to watch them. I was bored to watch them play. But then when Southgate, Russia, I was like, yeah, this is really good. And then Euros, obviously we had the Euros that was over here or around the continent. That was just a pleasure to watch.
Initially, I had tickets to the entire tournament for that. And obviously COVID hit and it wasn't going to be what it was. And I thought, oh no. And then of course I resell my tickets. We get to the bloody final.
I had tickets for the original group stages of that tournament. I applied for the rest, but I didn't get it. So that was when I joined the English Supporters Club. And then, I had the first 3 group games originally, but then I was just grateful because I'd got them. But then obviously what happened. And then I gave them all back. And then I was lucky though to get Germany though in the last 16. that was over here at Wembley. That was an unreal day going out there after, obviously, especially everything that happened over the last year. I just thought, you know, this is justice, you know, happening. You know, I'm feeling justice. I went there, just had a great time. And I was lucky to go semi-final. I didn't get the final. I think that's only because of the restriction. It was a capacity restriction. I didn't get it, but it was where it was. And again, this time, remember I told you I messed up with the application back in December. I didn't read the whole thing, and I applied through UEFA. But I was still lucky to get in the resales to go to Denmark, out for the Denmark game in this Euros. So I was lucky for that one. And yeah, and that was it more or less. I mean, yeah. Going back to, what was it? There was also Qatar, obviously. I think it's for Qatar, but again, I was like going out there. I was like, what you had to pay to go out there, flights and hotel, and it was, you know, when it was a case of all or nothing. So I've got all the group stages, but then you know you have to pay all or nothing. And I was like going out there 10 days. I'm like, now we have to pay. My brother went out for Iran, USA. He went there for 4 days, and he hollered me. He said to me, "Do you want to come and share with me? You can." I was like, "No, I'm just gonna give it up. I'm not going to go." So I gave them back, and yeah.
Yeah, that was a bizarre World Cup, that one.
Yeah, it didn't feel like. I mean, I liked it. I felt the vibe it grew on me, but it was because in the winter it just didn't feel real.
Yeah,
I mean,
I had that same kind of like this summer, but it was great for me. Obviously, being a student, I was working very hard. But of course, while doing my work, I was sat just watching the entire World Cup. So most of my work probably didn't get done.
There was one game I only wanted to watch, and that was obviously the first game, England-Iran, obviously being of Iranian origin. I said, nah, these are the two. I remember my family, I used to piss them off when I was younger. They always used to ask me, Arya, England-Iran ever play, who do you want to win? I said, England all the time. It used to humiliate them all the time. And then I said, it's both of them. I said, both. I want both to win. I couldn't care less. And then I said, I want my Arsenal boys to do well, but also, yeah, I want Iran to do well. I mean, the Iranian players, I only know the ones that play abroad, as we know. Ali Reza Jahanbakhsh, no one can say his name, who played famously for Brighton.
Yeah, that was. I think it was unfortunate the way he kind of panned out for him because, you know, coming from the Eredivisie to the Premier League is a massive step up for him. We did pay quite a I think it was 16 million we paid for him, so it's quite to splash out on someone like that. Obviously, he had a good pedigree in the Dutch league, but like you say,
he wasn't used to the
PPL. The overhead kick goal against Chelsea. That was something.
That sent shockwaves around Iran. Everyone's going mad and all that. And it was a game when I was watching, because one of my cousins, I told he's a Palace fan. We were watching the Palace Brighton game, and then the Iranian, it was in Iran at the time, the Iranian commentator showed Graham Potter, and I said to him, you know, this guy's a top 6 manager in the making. Before I knew you, I see he's a top 6 manager in the making. We just watched. And then the Iranian commentator goes on about saying, oh, Graham Potter, no one likes him because he dropped down back and, you know, he sold him. I said, no, it wasn't his fault. And one of the girls over there that follows football, she was saying, oh yeah, I hate the Brighton manager. I said, no, it's not his fault. He just wasn't fit for the Premier League. And he had to, obviously, his job as a manager is to select the best team and get wins at the end of the day. So, yeah. A lot of the girls over there tend to think, because they obsessed with the players, they like to think, you know, they like to say, oh, no, listen now. Just calm down.
Yeah.
You just got to tell them sometimes, calm down. Oh, they like the players and all that. And to be fair, Iranian girls, they do follow football like properly and that. But, you know, yeah. Like I was saying, I don't think they understood the situation at Brighton, that he struggled to fit in, and he wasn't suited for Graham Potter. I mean, I remember like one thing about the Chris Hughton situation. Like, I mean, everyone wants to make out that it was a race thing that he got fired. No, I think personally, I mean, Bloom was right to fire him at the end of the season. Gave him till the end of the season, and you know, there was some. I don't want to go too much into depth with them because I don't want to bring up negative energy. But someone say, "Oh, that's a race thing. It's a race." Oh, that race thing. Hughton just wasn't good enough at the end. He taken us the club as far as he could, and they wanted to go a different direction, play different football, and that's why they got Mr. Potter in. Yeah,
I think the end of his tenure was. I think we'd lost to Cardiff at home.
Yeah, you were like 1 win off relegation.
2-0. Yeah. We're all started thinking, this is it. We're getting relegated. He's got to go now. I mean, we only stayed up with Palace twice, and they ended up beating Cardiff for us. So,
and when you drove us that day, that's what confirmed your safety. That stopped us getting Champions League.
Laughing on the cameras after. So I was at that game actually. Yeah.
Oh yeah. All the players, Oba and all that, sat in the dugout. Yeah. They're all celebrating that they stayed up. Yeah. So yeah, but also I wanted to ask you, what do you think of their of Bloom and Barber? I mean, we touched on it already. What do you think of their in-depth on their approach where they used to sign for coaches and signings? You know, I mean, I was listening to obviously I forgot to tell you, I was listening to Sky Sports. Glenn Murray came on Sky Sports yesterday, and he was saying that everyone makes a big thing of the age thing of Fabian Hurzeler, but they forget that he's been coaching for the last 10 years. He just wasn't just a player; he's been coaching, got his badges 10 years ago. So everyone looks at his age, and obviously the fact Welbeck, Dunk and a few others, Milner, are all older than him, but he's been coaching for the last 10 years.
Well, yeah, obviously, you know, we look into these kind of things. We don't just go and grab them willy-nilly. It's the same with the...
haven't done their homework.
Yeah, we do our homework. It's like with the signings, you know, all the South Americans bringing in. We've been scouting them for a while. We haven't just gone, oh, there's this one kid in Argentina, let's bring him over. You know, we've been scouting them for ages of how we got, you know, McAllister and...
NCCO.
So yeah, he scored a blinder yesterday at the Olympics. I don't know,
yeah.
But it was near enough Man City-esque when he scored against them.
Oh,
but
yeah.
no,
I remember that goal he scored against them. Yeah, from outside the box he was. Yeah.
You know, the way we sort of scout and they look into it, it's in depth. You know, you have to do that kind of thing these days. You know, that's, you know, you look at when Liverpool signed, was it Coutinho or Firmino? Yeah. They've done it on Football Manager, so you know. Yeah. Stuff like that these days, you can go out and watch the players, but you need more data. And these days, you know,
definitely
they look with the technology we've got now. Data is king rather than just going out and looking at a player.
Old school scout,
you know, which I think, you know, people go on about stats and things. I think, yeah, okay, the stats are great, but can this player actually do it? You know. It's a different. If he's come from the Argentinian league, it's a complete different kettle of fish to the Premier League, where people think, and then you've got people going, "Oh, but look at his stats. His stats are great." Yeah, his stats may be fantastic, but he's been playing in Argentina for the last year and a half. Can he do that in the Premier League? You know, and I mean, you look at players like McAllister. He's gone on and done it and won the World Cup and got himself a great move to Liverpool, and he's still playing well for them. So, you know, we're doing well on that part. It's a shame to see the players go. But the money we're rinsing out of Chelsea, I'm not complaining. 115 million for Casido, who hasn't done very well there.
It's been terrible. Apart from that last day of the season when he scored that goal from, was it halfway line? Yeah. That's the only thing he's done for them. Yeah. He's just and there was that post that they put up where Todd Bowley might as well book Brighton instead.
Yeah, I think they. Yeah, that's. I don't know why they almost want to be us, which is bizarre.
170 million.
You know,
well, a lot of Brighton. I don't know if it's true or not, but a lot of the Brighton fans, obviously, I know. I'm not saying yourself. I heard that Brighton's their second team. A lot of them are Chelsea fans.
A lot of
that's true or not.
We get a lot of stick for that at Brighton, obviously, because of the new stadium and whatnot.
Yeah.
Was it with team? It was only 8,000 capacity.
Oh, was it? I remember the one with the running track around it. Yeah.
So we affect because of how the club in the 90s, obviously we lost to Galston and had to move to Gillingham, and then we were with them. We effectively lost a generation, which is mainly people my age and people born in the late 90s. So obviously with the advent of the Premier League was still up and running, was well up and running by that point. But you had people thinking, oh, we can't go and watch Brighton because, you know, the tickets are always sold out because it's only 8,000 capacity. It's a bit easy. We can get Sky Sports. It's a bit easy to watch teams like, you know, the Arsenals, the Uniteds, the Chelseas of the day, and Liverpool.
Oh, okay, right. I didn't know that. I don't know as much as that. Basically, my history for Brighton, when I started knowing about them, was because every day when I used to come home from school, Saturdays, it's going to sound, all I just was do sit down and watch Sky Sports News. I didn't care about anything. That's when I knew about Gus Poyet becoming their manager, and obviously the Amex as well.
Yeah, so that's part of the reason why, you know, people...
They lost a generation.
We've lost it, yeah, but now there's obviously, you're seeing kids walking around where I live. Obviously, there's still kids that support Premier League teams, but there are kids that will now be wearing Brighton shirts, and people sort of my age, more of us are wearing Brighton shirts now compared to when I was at school. You know, there was probably about 3 or 4 people that would support the Albion, and the rest support United. And you'd have a Palace fan running around, which is quite amusing, considering the fact it's nowhere near here.
I mean, back when I was in school, I remember in primary school, my whole class was just Arsenal and United, and there was these 2 Liverpool fans. I remember we were on school journey one night when it was the Arsenal-Barcelona Champions League final. all the United and Liverpool lot were, of course, supporting Barcelona. And then one of this guy, he's like one of my best friends at the time, innit? He still reminds me of this day. When Barcelona scored and he started celebrating, I just ran over, started throwing punches at him. And then the teachers had to all restrain me and all that. And that night, after we lost, I just went to bed. Just my head was down. The next morning when we came down for breakfast, he still reminds me, I remember your head was just down, like you weren't talking to no one. I was like, that hurt a lot, that Champions League final. Still feel the pain of it now to this day, but, it's what it is.
We're good enough to get to those finals. We don't have to worry about that. We always lose in the semi-final, something like
that. Yeah, but that's what it was mainly. But yeah, okay, that was interesting. I didn't know that about, like what you said about the stadium and all that. Obviously, with team being 8,000 and yeah, I really, another player I really liked last season was, Simon Adingra. They done obviously a lot of homework on him as well, like with stats, for example, like going down to, do you know what they tailor it down to? When they're identifying the players?
I think, I'm not 100% sure actually.
I know Bloom is very confidential about that because I know he's very confidential about that because he doesn't want competitors knowing, Yeah, to then have to steal Brighton's talent. Another thing I don't get though, when people say Brighton's a selling club. There was another podcast I was on, and this guy was saying, I don't rate Brighton. They sell their best players. They're a business. I said, I'm sure they don't need to sell their players. They could keep these players. Down to the players whether they want to go or not. I'm sure. I mean, that Dunk could have gone by now. A lot of players could have left there by now. I mean, when they were going, that setup they had, obviously with Ashley Barnes and others as well. Not that I can remember off the top of my head, but yeah.
Well, like you say, football is a business at the end of the day. It is a sport that we all love. But, clubs are run as businesses. And if we get the right offers for these players and the players want to go, you can't say no because they're not going to want to play for you. And some of the silly money we've been offered of players in the past, like Chelsea have been offering us ridiculous. You're not going to turn around and say no. We make a massive profit on that. Casido we got for, I think it was pittance we paid for him, and the amount or something off it for him, you're not going to say no to £115 million.
No, and definitely Brighton had the right record with profits as well.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's why Tony Bloom's, he made his millions on poker, so he's not stupid. Yeah, he's not stupid. He knows how to make money and how to negotiate.
Chips, man. Chips, man.
And
he doesn't like. Who's he got beef with? Or Brentford's on Matthew Bennett.
It's the funniest thing, I think. It's hilarious. He will not go and sit in like the director's box. He will come in the away end. Of course, when they used to play at Griffin Park, you go into the away end was 2 tiers, and the bottom tier.
I remember that. Yeah, I worked that stadium.
And obviously, you be in there, and you're all crammed in. You just see these 2 blokes come past, and there's Tony Bloom. What's he doing in here? It's because he don't like the Brentford owner.
Was everyone lined up to take photos with him?
He does. Not at the game, no. People were, but he will if you spot him after it. He comes to every game because he loves the club as much as we do. His family.
Definitely local, through and through. That's what I always liked about him. Local boy from Hove.
Because we've got an owner that's one of us. He's not likely to sell the club. Hopefully.
No.
Or he'll probably, his children will probably inherit it once he's, finished. Well, not finished, but
wants to step back from.
Yeah, exactly. And
it's
great to have that because we could be like a United who hate their owners, or or have had dodgy owners in the past. You look at Leeds, Oldham, Stockport, I believe, were dodgy owners as well.
Yeah.
Many clubs in the Football League that have, dropped out of it. So we're lucky in that sense. We've been through dodgy owners in the past. We lost our ground because of it, and we're now in a stage where we've built from nothing, and we're in a good period of our history. Hopefully, we can eventually win a trophy because it'd be nice.
Definitely.
Not having a major trophy to our name. The only thing is the Charity Shield in 1910, which bizarrely we only won it because we were the Southern League champions or something. So we're the only team who've never won the FA Cup or the top flight, but have won the Charity Shield. So there's the pub quiz question for you.
Oh, okay. Interesting. Remember that. Bear that in mind. I'll bear that in mind. But yeah, definitely I like the way how Tony Bloom has done it, and Paul Barber as well, how how they always do things their way. Like that's why Deserby left, of course, because he wanted to sign players from between 25 to 30 more experienced players, whereas they just want to go for players under the age of 22 and sign the old heads like Milners, like Welbecks and Lallana's that we had there. So I like the way how they always stick to their guns. They say, no, we're either doing it our way or no way. And then 9 times out of 10 leaves to the manager saying bye-bye to them.
But I think having the older players in as well helps with the younger players. You know, you've got the likes of Milner and Welbeck and Lallana, who was, you know,
Welbeck,
a massive help to that. You know, they have the experience to help out these younger players and help them come through. Obviously, we've lost Lallana. He's gone back. I think he's gone back to Southampton, hasn't he?
Yeah, Lallana has gone back to Southampton. Yeah,
James Milner, who it was mad when we signed him, because I was thinking James Milner. You know, he's won the league title many times, won the Champions League, and he's come to little old Brighton. What's this all about? Oh, by the way, he is 36. All right, okay. You know,
experience over to them.
But it helps because, you know, you've got that experience there, and then hopefully he can, you know, go into the coaching stuff.
Definitely. I know there's some of their ex-players they got on the coaching role as well. Like, remind me. I remember Bruno Soto was on the coaching role under Potter, but then left, of course. Yeah. I like when I see that. That's one thing I always said about Arsene Wenger. One mistake he made was he didn't get like the Invincibles players like Campbell, Henry, Vieira as part of his coaching backroom staff. That's one thing I think that led to his downfall. I'd have loved it if they were like as his assistants, you know, Vieiras, the Henrys and Campbells, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's what's good about the club as well. You know, we always look back to our players and say, oh, you know, if you want to come back, come back. I think Inigo Calderon, who was a defender for us many years, well, not many years ago, I think he left in about 2015. You know, he played for us for many years, won League One with us, and he's come back. I think he's in with one of the youth teams now. So it's nice to see older. Andrew Cross, who was with us for years, is in the youth setup as well now. So it's nice to have former players that are now part of the club still, who are helping carrying on the journey that we've been on. So.
Yeah. And who's that player that had a heart attack? I know they gave him a coaching job, and I remember him because he scored against us. So I just can't remember his name. What's his name?
Enoch Mwepu, yeah.
That was it. Yeah, he scored against us. Then he had like a heart attack or something.
He had heart issues. Yeah, so unfortunately he had to retire, which is a shame, really, because.
And he was only 25 as well.
Yeah, he was coming on leagues
than us
with us, which was a shame, really, because you know he had a promising. Well, he already had a promising career, but he had a better career ahead of him as well with us in the Premier League. So it was quite a shame to see him go. But again, like you say, he's coaching, and we were popular in Zambia, which
is popular in Iran as well. You know, yeah, amongst the ladies of Iran as well after Dahabakh, you know. Yeah. Man. So, who's your favourite player of all time for Brighton?
Anyone? There's a few. Unfortunately, I didn't get to see the. It would be Bobby Zamora because he's a legend, but unfortunately, I didn't actually get to see his peak at Brighton. But I got to see the second spell. But it's got to be Lewis Dunk for me, captain, fan, Mr. Brighton,
through and through.
Exactly. He was born and bred in Brighton, despite the fact he supports Chelsea. But we'll put that.
Oh, is it? I didn't know that. Yeah. One thing I'll never forget about Lewis Dunk was that game against West Brom, and then you all like me for reminding you this. Remember the free kick, which I thought was complete bollocks as to why it was ruled out, because the ball wasn't ready, and then that whole whistle thing, he blew the whistle before it went in. And Dunk even asked, "Can I take the free kick?" He used to do Henry free kick, but Henry would do, just go ahead, take it, take a quick free kick, which I think was complete bollocks when the ball wasn't ready, because Brighton should have the advantage. They were disadvantaged in that foul, and then the advantage should be with them. It's not their fault that Albion couldn't get there. West Bromwich Albion couldn't get there all ready for the free kick, and then that was just a lot of bollocks. I mean, Lee Mason as well done us injustice as well in the past. So yeah.
No, but another player I do love and will always love is Anthony Knockaert.
Oh yeah.
He just brought a kind of magic to watching football, and us in the Championship, he was unreal. He wasn't great in the Premier League for us, but
that's why he was going through his problems, though, innit? Remember, because he said his dad died and his wife was divorcing him or something. I remember he said that he broke down at that Brighton Christmas party or something. I was reading an article that he broke down at the Brighton Christmas party with all his problems that just hit him all of a sudden.
Yeah, but he was a quality player for us, so he gets an honourable mention.
What year did they sign him?
2017, I think it was. I think it was the year we nearly went up.
Okay, interesting. And obviously, my all-time Arsenal favourite player, no questions.
That man there.
Behind me, Thierry Henry. The only player I ever got on the back of my shirts, and won't ever get anyone else but him on the back of my shirts. So I don't want to. Obviously now, you've got players leaving left, right, centre, and also I just want to keep it authentic as Henry. I don't like having different players on the back. So there was just one player I admired of all time. That's why I got his signed shirt here. That's all.
Yeah. They still have a shirt with a name on the back.
You can get one. Just wait outside the ground and get them to sign it for you. So, what's your thoughts ahead for the upcoming season and under Fabian Hurzeler? And what signings? Who do you want them to sign for this window?
I think signings-wise, we're pretty much there. I think we still probably may need to boost the midfield. We'll probably have to sign someone because apparently Billy Gunn was on the way out, which I wouldn't be sad to see him go. It's not. It's a loss, but it's not. It's not like he's an integral part of the side, like McAllister and Casido were. But we probably need midfield. I'm happy with the signings we've made. The lad we signed for Newcastle scored today against Tokyo, so that'll be good to see him this season.
What's his name? Mina or something. Was it Mina or something? I know it's one of their youth players. Is it Mina or something?
Well, I'll have to look it up.
Yeah. That's all right. It's all right. But yeah. Okay, yeah. That's fair enough. Yeah. So you're hoping for that, and what are your hopes for the season? Where do you think you might, without jinxing it, going to finish? How confident are you in Hurzeler?
I'd say hopefully we should be aiming for a top 10 finish, which is Tony Bloom's aim. If we manage to get a European spot, that would be a great boost. But, top 10, and I'd like to see us, go further in the cups this season, take them quite seriously, the League Cup as well as the FA Cup, although I'd rather win the FA Cup because, everyone does.
The FA Cup.
But yeah, a top 10 finish for a club like ours would probably be, the base to set, and then hopefully if it is Hurlitz that does the job, which I can't see why he wouldn't, considering the fact what he'd done with Sam Pally last season. All right, he is a completely different kettle of fish for him, but he has the players there that know what they're doing. He's had players there that can help him with the older players. So I don't see why top 10 can't be achievable. And of course, finishing Palace would be a massive bonus as well.
Yeah, I also, when I was looking into Hurzeler, he likes to play similar football to De Zerbi. Plays out from the back and wants to attack with pace and speed on the wings.
Exactly, it's the same
down
stuff.
The middle, yeah.
Obviously, the players can adapt; they don't have to adapt to anything new, which is nice for them. So, and nice for us as well because we get the same style of play. So, we're hopefully watching the same sort of football. So yeah, I would take a top 10 finish.
Okay, that's good to know. I just hope, that I can see him as well doing the same thing. I mean, Bloom and Barber, they did do their homework on this guy. They took their time with the appointment. They could have got Potter. They could have gone for Steve Cooper. They could have gone. They had a whole lot of managers that more established. They could have gone for. I know Barber says this is the lowest risk of them all. I actually think he's probably the highest risk because he's untried in the Premier League. But who's to say? Obviously, he got some poorly promoted last season. Who's to say he can't take Brighton further? Especially if he's got the players that's going to suit his system. Yeah. And he likes to play. Was it 3-4-3 and possession base with patient build up and then attack with pace and mobility. So I can't see it being any long balls there. Just see it being.
Well, we haven't got a big man up top to lump it to anyway.
Yeah. No target man up there now. Yeah. Cool. Well, George, I was going to say thank you for taking the time. Thank you for coming on. It's been great having you on. We'll try to do another one of these in a month's time when the season starts. Get your views as you go along.
Yeah.
In the meantime, good luck with your sports journalism. You're top journalists in the making. And again, thank you for your time. Don't forget, follow my guy, George Northover, guys. Top guy. Great sports journalism in the making. So, yeah, stay tuned for the content. Thank you for coming on, bro. Have a
No.
good evening.
Nice one.
Nice one. Take care. Take care. Take care. Take care.